3 postseason games, all in extra innings. Only 5 teams in baseball history have won 3 extra inning games in a single postseason period, in the whole single postseason. All 5 of those teams have won the World Series in that season. The Royals did that in their first 3 games. Jonathan Knight and I were texting over the weekend. Now that is a team of destiny. And I said, you're absolutely right. That is the definition of destiny right there. And they keep rolling. They've swept their way right on through. And I'll tell you what, look at the series now. You've got 2 teams now coming down here looking for the chance to go to the World Series that have both been 30 years since the last time that they've been there, looking at the O's and the Royals. And 29 years for the Royals, 31 years for the O's. One of those teams is guaranteed to put an end to that here. But, man, Kansas City turning into a juggernaut here. But, yeah, talk about destiny. Speaking of that, by the way, Jonathan Knight just tweeted us here as we're rolling on. And he says, destiny keeps nudging us, Browns fans. Here's a little-known fact. On the day that Brian Hoyer was born, Bernie Kosar made his first NFL start. Well, if you needed another one, there it is. Thanks to Jonathan. Only Jonathan Knight would know where to pull a stat like that out. Wow. On the day Brian Hoyer was born, Bernie Kosar made his first NFL start. Well, it makes total sense looking at that to what I've been saying, and I will continue with when we come back on the other side of the break, which is Brian Hoyer is the best quarterback that the Browns have seen and that has worn this jersey since Bernie Kosar, and he is going to do some Kosar-Sipe-esque thing. Listen, the words cardiac kids have been thrown out so much in the first part of the season, and then especially last night. But I mean, man, if you're not seeing that, I mean, look at this. Everything it's coming. This whole season's going to be like this. Everything's going to come down to the wire. Everything's going to come down to the end. And Hoyer's got that. He's got that Sipe in him a little bit more even than the Bernie Kosar thing is because of. Don't even bring up Derek Anderson with his one fluke season. But he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if it wasn't for that 80-yard bomb that he had, man. But anyways, worse than Brandon Wheaton. No, Wheaton's way worse than Derek Anderson. Anyways, don't take me off my topic here in the chat room over there. But more than Kosar. Kosar's got the hometown thing when I talk about Hoyer. But Brian Sipe, that moxie. I don't care if I almost threw an interception. If I did throw an interception, I don't care if you hit me. I'm going to stand in the pocket. I'm going to let you bear down on me. I'm going to deliver that ball. And I'm telling you, remember Friday? You guys that listen every day, remember Friday? Ryan Ruiz, last segment when we were previewing the show, and he said the term game manager about Brian Hoyer. And I said, man, I'm so sick of that term. It absolutely drives me crazy. Brian Hoyer is more than a game manager. He's a quarterback that can win football games. Game manager, that's okay. That's a guy that hands off, throws dump passes, and doesn't do anything to win or lose the game. That's not Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer can win you a football game. He won you a football game last night. He wins you a football game when he gets out there 9 times out of 10. I'm telling you, man. And he did it once again in amazing fashion in the second half. But let's talk about that when we come back. But I'm serious. He's got that. Doesn't he have that Brian Sipe in him? He's undersized a bit. He's underappreciated. He's out there gunslinging. And there's the flip side to that, too. Hey, Brian Sipe threw an interception. And everybody remembers 40 years later. I mean, we all know that. I'm saying there's of course, the flip side to the coin. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. You can fall behind. Hey, I was joking with somebody yesterday. I said, this seems like one of those storylines that plays out where, like, when you remember seasons back, like Jonathan Knight, speaking of him, he writes some great books about the Browns. And, he writes about the 80s and the Dog Pound. It's one of my favorite, Sundays in the Pound, one of my favorite Browns books, you guys. But anyways, and you read the stories that you're reading back to the season, and they go, this would loom larger later. This was a story that was told later in the season. I was looking at the guy I was watching the game with yesterday, and I said, I can already see this now. The Browns make a little playoff run here, and get to the playoffs, you fall down 28-3, and everybody's going, oh, but they did it before, but it doesn't happen, because when you do ride that kind of luck, it eventually does run out. And don't go crazy with the playoff thing. You guys know where I'm going from here. And by the way, listen, man, I heard that idiot Chuck Booms was yapping off at the gums after the game yesterday about Johnny Football and Hoyer again. You've got to be kidding me, man. Let me tell you something. Brian Hoyer is the man, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. Let's talk about the Browns game here when we come back. It's okay to feel good today, but we will pick up the conversation here. We'll talk about the first half that makes you not feel good, the way the tide turned in the game. We'll talk about Travis Benjamin. Talk about keeping your head up, and talk about Mike Pettine as a coach. For him to grab Travis Benjamin after that fumble and tell him, don't put your head down, we're going to come back to you, we need you to make a play. That almost cost the Browns the game, and instead, Travis Benjamin goes out there and helps win the Browns the game. Seriously, Mike Pettine is a hell of a football coach. I don't know about X's and O's. I'm talking about getting a guy to go out there and play football for you, man. He's just got something that makes people want to play, and so does Brian Hoyer. Let's talk about that when we come back. Browns and Titans, the comeback for the ages. They finished this one, unlike Pittsburgh. We'll talk about that coming up. We've got John McMullen coming up about 15 minutes from now from the Sports Network, Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan, and so much more. Don't go anywhere. We have just popped the top on today's bottle of the Sports Fix, baby. VIP. We're in the champagne room today, talking about the Browns and so much more when we come back.
This is the Sports Fix.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Hey, call me Mr. Pig!
We'll call you whatever you like, as long as we can call you a fan of the Sports Fix.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania, it's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
Hey everybody, this is Jerry the King Lawler from WWE, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
You love Cleveland, and you already know how much we love Cleveland. You know who else loves Cleveland? GV Art and Design. Everyday fans, you and I wear our pride on our sleeves. Now, you can wear your pride on your chest. GV Art and Design has one of the hottest Cleveland sporting lines. Log on right now to gvartwork.com. Check out all of their fantastic designs. And don't forget, use the sales code FIX10, FIX10, to save 10% on your total purchase. Follow gvartwork.com on Facebook, and remember, GV Art and Design, it's not just a shirt, it's a statement.
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
It's just an old ball, really. Nothing more. We grew with it and studied it. We owned it and shared it. We prayed they would hit it and miss it. We prayed they would catch it and drop it. We wanted it to bounce and fly, speed up and slow down. to us, and we wanted to give it away. We have watched it weather storms and bask in the sun. And it's always right here in our hands. Cleveland Indians, established 1901.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck, home of the low price tire guarantee. QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix live across the Sports Fix Radio Network. J-Rock back with you, rocking and rolling, baby. We've got a whole lot to come. Just about 10 minutes from now, John McMullen from the Sports Network. He'll be with us in the next segment of the show. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan coming up at the top of hour number 2. Your takes and more. Speaking of your takes, phone lines are open. I want to hear from you. Come on now, 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535 is the number to call. Hit me up. Let me know, where are you at with the Cleveland Browns' biggest comeback victory in franchise history yesterday, 29-28. Talk about the jungle. The Browns found themselves in a jungle of their own making for about the first 28 minutes of that game. I tell you, man, it was getting ugly. I will be the first one to tell you that. But like I said, of their own making. And yes, 216-something. 216-539-7535 is the number to call. 216-539-7535, guys. Give me a phone call and let me know where you're at here, as I see guys still chiming in. Man, I see some people retweeting that fact from Jonathan Knight. That's still amazing that he dug that out. The coincidence there is in the stars. Seriously, on Brian Hoyer's day he was born, Bernie Kosar threw that ball for the first time in the NFL as the Browns, and I'll keep going back to him. I mean, that is why you won that game. Him and Ben Tate, too. Trust me, we've got a list of things here to get into with the checklist, but before we talk about the good, we started off talking about that. That's great. We're feeling good. Let's back it up a bit. Go to this game. Look at the first half here of Tennessee and Cleveland. And one of the things we all pointed to last week in our previews towards the end, I know it was one of the dog bones that Ryan Ruiz pointed out. And speaking of interacting with us, like those guys, like on Friday, Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. But one of the keys that we talked about was going to be huge was getting out early and getting on top of the Titans early. So, you think about it, and the opposite happened. I mean, they were outscored 27-0 in the first quarter leading up to the game. And had obviously no score, had not put anything on the board. Other teams had been able to really establish something early. Here you had a crowd that was ready to turn on your team. I mean, they were talking all week in Tennessee and in Nashville about how the crowd wasn't feeling good about this team. And we know that. It's one of those crowds that feels good until the game starts to turn, and then they start to unleash it. We've seen it here in Cleveland. It's not necessarily against your team, but it's just that frustration that's got to be vented on somebody. But instead, the Browns let Tennessee. I mean, Jake Locker was rolling. I mean, he was having his way. Tennessee was just able to offensively really set the tone early on against the Browns. And I didn't think the Browns offensively in the first half. I was talking after the game to some people, and I said, if you ask me to sum it up, now obviously it was a tale of two halves defensively, but offensively, obviously there were some things the Browns could clean up in the first half. But really, I didn't think they were terrible in the first half. I mean, the defense put them in a hole. I mean, final score at the end of the first half was 28-10. But defense, I mean, each time you come up, I mean, yeah, they got a touchdown and a field goal, and they had to punt it a few times. And meanwhile, touchdown, 4 in a row, including that lightning quick 75-yard, one-play touchdown. Just got over the top of the defense. Whitehurst lets it loose. But rewind it a second. Jake Locker's got things going. All of a sudden, this crowd that was ready to turn on the home team, instead, they're getting rolling. Now they're feeling good. They're looking just like we talked about, man, Cleveland, here's an opportunity for us to straighten us out, man. Look, Cleveland came in here